These stuffed bell peppers are the perfect dinner recipe when you want something nostalgic and delicious that has both meat, flavor, and vegetables. Let me show you how I make my stuffed bell pepper recipe. What I love about stuffed bell peppers is that you get your vegetables, your bell peppers, as well as your meat. I like to use ground beef and all these other ingredients that you see here because I like my mixture to be nice and seasoned. So I've got some Italian seasoning, some onion powder, garlic powder, you know how that goes, as well as some salt and black pepper. And to keep it traditional, I'm gonna be using some tomato sauce and tomato paste, some chicken broth for liquid, and I'm gonna use rice and cheese. Let's get started. The first thing we're gonna do is preheat our oven to 425 degrees to get everything started. Then we're gonna prep our bell peppers. I like to have different color bell peppers. I do think they do taste different, like green taste a little bit more green, red taste. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Anyways, they taste different. Get whatever ones you like. Now, the way I like to cut my bell peppers is I just cut them down the middle in half. That was loud. And I just like to pull out the middle part. Do not throw this away. I would save these so that you could plant them in your garden and have bell peppers forever. But I'm gonna just kind of peel and remove this middle white membrane. And then we're gonna use that to stuff them. We're gonna stuff them, stuff them, stuff them. I'm just gonna, oh God, that thing loud. It's a pretty cutting board, it's just loud. It's acrylic. I'm just gonna remove any parts of this bell pepper that I'm not going to eat. Like the stem. I've also got a 9x13 pan, and this is what I'm gonna use to make my stuffed bell peppers in. So as soon as I cut those bell peppers in half and I remove the membrane and seeds, I'm gonna just put them in this pan. Boom. Now I've got some oil, and I'm gonna add some oil to those peppers that I have put in my, look at a little pepper butt thing there. Sorry. Now I've got some oil, and I'm gonna add that oil to these peppers that I've put in my little pan, and I'm just gonna drizzle a little bit. You'll notice that I've got the peppers cut side up. I'm gonna use a little brush, but I'm gonna get a little bit of oil on both sides. And when I was looking up bell pepper recipes like years ago, I would always see it where they would say to either boil the peppers, you could even microwave the peppers. I like to do it this way because I pop these peppers in the oven and they can basically roast away while I get the rest of the recipe prepared. And then what we're gonna do as well, if you want, just add a little bit of salt to these while they roast away. It's gonna add more flavor, and we love flavor. Sprinkle just a teeny bit. So I'm gonna put these in my preheated oven for about 20 minutes to give them a little bit of a head start to soften up. All right, so as our peppers bake away, let's go ahead and prepare our aromatics. So I've got 1 yellow onion and some garlic cloves. The way to not cry when you're cutting onions is to make sure you've got a sharp knife. Or put it in the fridge. I don't know, if you have any tips on how not to cry when you're cutting onions, please leave them in the comments below. Ah, my knife isn't sharp enough. Oh gosh, I'm starting to cry. Oh, okay. I'm also gonna go ahead and prep this garlic. And so I like to use these little garlic peeler roller thingies to give me a little head start. And sometimes when you're trying to peel fresh garlic, it's forever. Like, see, it just peeled it for me. How nice. But it's great if you've got a whole ton of garlic to peel, and rather than trying to struggle with these things, you can use this. Acrylic. Shopping garlic. Now that we've prepped our aromatics by chopping our onions and garlic and we didn't cry, we're gonna go ahead and start cooking them on the stovetop. So I've preheated a pan over medium-high heat, and I'm gonna add just a little bit of oil, and I'm gonna add those onions. Get them all in. Ooh, smell like onion. We're gonna start giving that a little bit of saute. Cooking, cook on the stovetop. Cooking on the stovetop. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add my garlic in and saute that for about a minute. And I'm gonna add some tomato paste. I'm gonna put it right in the middle just to let it caramelize a little bit. Saute that for about 10 to 20 seconds. And I'm only adding about a tablespoon. And I'm just gonna stir it in. And now I'm gonna add my ground beef to the skillet. I don't know why I did it like that. All right. And I'm just going to break it up and brown it. And I'm also gonna season it. Oh, sorry. Here's some Italian seasoning. Teaspoon of salt. A healthy teaspoon of black pepper. A healthy teaspoon of onion powder. And only a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. Only. You can add more. And you just make sure we stir that in while we're browning it. Now the kind of beef that I used here was that 85-15. I don't try to get too lean because then it'll be drier. And you could always drain the excess fat if you're concerned about having too much grease or fat in your ground beef. And if you're not a fan of ground beef, you can totally use whatever you want. You can use other proteins. You could use ground chicken, ground turkey, beans, the wonderful fruit, lentils, pulses. I wouldn't use fish because I don't know. But I mean, you could actually, whatever. Cooking is about figuring out what you like and doing it. You can see my ground beef is nice and bubbly, and I got a lot of grease here. So what I like to do sometimes when I remember is move all that ground beef to one side. I'm just gonna tilt this just a little bit to get some of that excess grease. Tilt it to the side and just use this to kind of soak up some of that excess grease. Or you could just drain it like normal people do, but this is a little bit easier for me. Some of the excess grease off. So now I'm gonna add my liquid. So I'm gonna add my 8 ounces of tomato paste, 8 ounces of tomato sauce, and just half a cup of chicken broth. And I'm gonna lower my heat. Allow that to just simmer. 5 minutes, for about 5 minutes. So as you can see, it's been about 5 minutes and our mixture here has got nice and thick and just looks delicious. It smells delicious. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some cooked rice. Got about a cup of rice. Plop it right in there. And we're just gonna break it up. Now, the reason why you want to use cooked rice is because we're only going to keep our peppers after we stuff them in the oven for about 15 minutes. And if you're trying to do raw rice, it's just not going to cook fast enough. I also like the idea of cooking your rice ahead of time. I'm going to turn the stove off. so that you can use whatever kind of rice you want. So I've got here some regular white long grain rice, but you could also use brown rice, wild rice, rice, or no rice, whatever you prefer. All right. You could just eat it like this too, if you didn't want to make the peppers. So now that we've got our mixture ready, let's go ahead and get our peppers that have been roasting in the oven. So these are our peppers straight out the oven. You can see they've got a little bit of char on the outside and they have softened just a little bit, but not all the way. So I'm gonna take my mixture and I'm just gonna rest it right on top. The other reason why I like cutting my peppers this way, it just makes it so much easier to pretty much stuff them. Just gonna go ahead and add as much of my mixture to these peppers. Now, of course, this is a great meal if you want to prep any of this stuff ahead. Look at me over here, drop it in. Go. Now I've got my peppers stuffed. They look so good, but we've got to do our finishing touch. We're going to top it with some cheese. I've got a big old block stuck to my plate. I have a big old block of Colby Jack cheese. You can get the pre-shredded cheese if you want. This one is just gonna melt better, and I'm just gonna shred it right over my peppers. You're gonna want about a cup of cheese. Pro tip, cheese is much easier to grate when it's cold and stiff. All right, so we have our dish. Look at this. I put all this cheese over here. Let me fix that. Girl, what you doing? Now that we've covered it with grated cheese, we're gonna pop these peppers in the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes until the cheese gets nice and bubbly and golden. All right, I'll be back. Here's my stuffed peppers. Beloved. And now I've pulled our peppers out of the oven. That cheese has melted and is nice and golden. And they're ready to be served and eaten. But actually you want to let them cool for a little bit because they're kind of hot. So that's it. Let me just grab one of these peppers here. You see the cheese? You see the cheese? Yes, yes. I'm gonna stop playing around. All right, so now to see, let me see. Which one do I want? Do I want yellow or red? I need a knife. Over here, I'm just gonna use my fork and use that to break down this pepper. Knife and fork, 5 me dumpling. Booyaka, booyaka. Shabba rankin. Got a big old piece of bell pepper. Got some of that filling. Every time I do these bite shots, I want to take another bite. This is so good. But, okay. It's good. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think the yellow bell pepper might be my favorite. Anyways, guys, this is delicious. It's so super easy to make. This might be one of your favorite dinners. Anyways, until the next time. Baby, you want some too? I think so. All right, guys, until the next time. Bye. Baby, I will share. Okay, come on. You said cry before you cut your onions? Yeah. Get all the tears out.
Listen to a sad song.
This is the song that doesn't end. Yes, it goes on and on, my friend. Some people started singing it, not knowing what it was. And they'll continue singing it forever just because. Oh gosh, I'm about to cry for real.